Hi, everybody. Thanks a lot for taking the time to join our webinar today. I'd like to just, I know that everybody here time, but we'll give just one more minute for people who are planning to join so we can get it and start. So in the meantime, you can enjoy some uh, imaginary lounge music. Alrighty, so once again, thank you everybody for taking the time to join our call today from your busy schedule. For those of you who know me and for those of you who don't, howdy, I'm Guy, the Alliances Director here at DocoMotion. Happy to see some familiar faces or names to be more accurate, and some that I don't, just even more exciting or not, depends. So again, thank you very much for taking the time to join our DocoMotion Champion Certification webinar. We're thrilled to see so many of you today. Please keep in mind that this training session is thought and designed to help you master our document generation solution and just enhance your overall service delivery capability. So in the next hour and a half, you'll gain any knowledge you need about the platform, all the way from basic installation to more advanced features. I like the way that this agenda is structured because it would also be beneficial for people who have no absolute knowledge on DocuMotion, so they can get all the way from installation, user permissions, etc., but all the way to more advanced users that could see some unique features today that very likely you haven't seen before because those are from our latest versions. And here, something special. All attendees who complete and pass their certification exam at the end of the session will be entering a draw for a valuable gift card. We'll send an exam link through the email after the webinar, so please stay tuned. And it's a good moment to emphasize on the purpose of today's session. DocuMotion training platform and certificate is a really terrific tool. I honestly really like and believe in because I've seen throughout my experience here in DocuMotion and working on their partnerships, consultants and teams that have passed the certification are knowledgeable on the tool. They can save themselves valuable time on opening a ticket and working together with DocuMotion. They can easily solve small issues all the way to intermediate. Not to say that you become uh, a DocuMotion support expert, but it does mean that you can easily do lots of things on your own, which also saves you time, but also makes you more of a trusted advisor. So that's a little bit about the plan. Something important to mention when you'll see the platform at the end. Please note that everything Tomer, which I'll introduce you if you don't know in a few seconds, is planning to show today. It's the idea is basically to save you the entire course itself. You can jump straight into the exam itself, and that's the idea. So that's a little bit about that. I'm delighted to hand over things to our main presenter, Tomer. He's going to say a couple of words on himself, but I really like Tomer. I enjoy working with him, and he's going to say a couple of things on himself, who will guide you through the technical aspects of the DocuMotion platform. He has extensive experience in training Salesforce partners, and he will ensure you get the most out of today's session. So without any further ado, Tomer, the floor is yours, please.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Tomer Rothstein, and in today's session I will show you how to use DocuMotion, how to install, set it up, create basic template and then more advanced template. And this will give you the knowledge to create your own templates, use the system, and pass the certification. So let me start by sharing my screen so we can talk a little bit about that. So just share it. And I will start with our Learning Center. Of course, you will get the URL to the Learning Center, and there is a lot of knowledge in here, more than what we will cover in this session, and it's set up as different lessons, which 4 to 5 minutes videos in each session. If I scroll all the way down, we will have the final exercise. Today's session will give you all the tools you need to do the exercise. It take only a couple of minutes to do it. And essentially you will be able to just go into the last section. We'll just go into it for a moment. And then you have a template you can download, clicking here for the designer, and then download on the template. And you will have everything set up inside the template as well, so you don't necessarily need to do the steps in here. So that's about the Learning Center. Let's jump to Salesforce to see what we came here for. So right now I'm logged in into our demo environment. I will start by a small demonstration of the commotion. This will help us get familiar with the generation screen and some of the features. Then we will go over installation, setting it up, and we will work on creating our template, see some features, automations, and so on. So let's start. Of course, if you have any question, feel free to just type them in, and we will stop when needed. I will start by going into the opportunity object for our demonstration, and I will select the retail company for this one. In here, we have all sorts of information, whether it's information coming from the opportunity itself, a lookup to a decision maker, this is a contact lookup, some products, a related quote, and I'm showing you those objects because we will gather information from all of those into our document. To do that, I will first click on the Lightning Generate Document button. This is a global action, so you can, once you install the commotion, you can add it into any page layout. And clicking on it will open the commotion out of the box generation screen. This screen will show you all the relevant templates to the object you're standing on. So in this case, it's showing me opportunity templates. Sorry. Of course, you can create all sorts of filters to only show specific templates in specific scenarios. For this demonstration, I will select the retail quote template, and this will move me to the second page. Now we can select what I want to do with this template. So I can choose between the different formats, whether it's PDF, HTML, Word, or mail body, and the different channels. So channel is what I want to do with this template. I can select it to be generated to a mail, for example, using Salesforce email template, and the commotion document as an attachment. Have it stored under my file related list in Salesforce, download it locally, and so on. For this specific demonstration, the retail quote contain interactive fields, and those work with HTML and the link channel that you can see once I select HTML. So this is a little bit different to the other type of templates. Interactive capabilities allow you to gather information from the end user or from a customer if you want to update data in Salesforce, or just collect new data, of course. So I select HTML and link. You can see automatically it pick up my decision maker as the recipient. So this is something we can set up in the template settings page. Of course, I can change the recipient if I want to. And I will go ahead and click on generate. When generating those links, a new record in Salesforce will be created. So this is a new signature record. Signature is a documentation object, and this allows us to track those documents. So there is not a lot of information in here right now, but I can see the template I selected. I can see this URL, and this is essentially our document. And I can see the signers, or in this case, the decision maker, and a lookup to our opportunity in this case, but it can be under any Salesforce object. And if I will jump to my email, I can see I have a new mail received from the system. So once a signature record is created, it will trigger an email sending process. And in here I can see the email coming from the system, and I have my URL in here as well. So this is the same URL we saw on the signature record. And once I click on it, it will generate my document. And what I mean is there is no file stored behind. So we are not saving any file in the process. Once you click on the link, it go into Salesforce, take the template, take the data, and create it on the spot. So if I will now go and change the account name that we can see here, for example, and click refresh, it will update with the new account name. Since we are working on HTML, we can embed stuff like videos. In this case, you can see a video coming from YouTube. This is great for brand awareness or tutorial videos that you can add to your documents. We can see the decision maker first name, the owner information with an image for the signature, information coming from the account, information coming from the quote, our product with images coming dynamically from the respective websites. So during generation, in this scenario, we are going to the URLs for these products, and it's just being pulled when we generate. And the last part will be our interactive section. In here, we can see two types of interactive capabilities. And of course, we will talk more about them when we create our own interactive template. The first one is the email and mobile phone. Those will update the fields directly on my decision maker. So on that contact we saw on the opportunity. All the other fields we see here are something called interactive collection or DocuMotion interactive fields. And those will be collected under the signature record. So those are great if you don't want to pollute your Salesforce environment with a lot of information, or let those end users or customers update your records, but you still want to collect data from them. Let's add some information. So I will start by adding a phone number. Let's do something that will be easy to spot. And let's fill the rest of the field. So remarks. Pick the checkbox. If I want to upload files, whether it's an ID, PDF files, docx files, and collect them back to Salesforce, I can do that with the upload capabilities. So this is great if you do need to collect files from the end user. We have the signature capabilities in here, and I can just click, it will open the signature in this case on the whole screen. So this is the settings I can set up if I want it to pop up or stay with the size I design it to. And let's click on save. And the last part will be our upsell opportunities. The reason we're seeing these three products is because our total is lower than $4,000. If it was higher, we would see higher priced items. So this is just showing the capability of business logic based on the information coming from Salesforce to either show specific information. Let's choose Mixer for this one. And me as the end user right now, I will click submit because I finished filling the template, and two things will happen. First of all, I will get a copy of the PDF that I can save locally, and this will contain all the information. You can see since I'm on PDF now, the video is hidden. So the first page change accordingly. Everything else is the same. So we have our products, we have the interactive section with all the information I inserted, and I can see a team member of the mixer department will contact me because I selected mixers. So after submit, we can do all sorts of business logic again based on the information that was put into the interactive sections. And the other thing happening after I click submit is all the information returned to Salesforce. So going into our signature record, I will click refresh. And now we have more information in here. So first of all, our customer or the signer IP address, date and time of the signature, browser information, this checkbox telling me this signature was signed. So this is great if you need to track this, create reports, or even create automation based on the process. Before we jump back to the opportunity, I will go into the feedback received right here. And this will be the interactive collection capability. So we can see all the information pulled from the customer. So free text, the checkbox saying I agree, the checkbox saying true for the mixers, and the date. The signature itself will be embedded into the final PDF that we will see as well in a moment. And going back to my opportunity, let's start with the file related list. So in the file related list, I will have a copy of the signed PDF. Scrolling down, we can see our customer signature, the information we put in the document. And if there were also files that were uploaded, they would be saved in here as well. And the last part will be our decision maker. So we did change the phone number on the decision maker, and we can see it updated directly in the contact. So those are the two types. So this is just a small demonstration. I really love showing the HTML and link because it might be small, it's thin, small or short, but it shows a lot of capabilities, whether it's data gathering, updating, business logic, and so on. And from here, let's jump into setting up the commotion. So I'll go into Salesforce Setup. And let's start with the installed packages. So once you go to the Salesforce App Exchange and install Docomotion, you will have a new line in installed packages called Docomotion. In here, we can see the Docomotion version, our licenses and how many are assigned, and the expiration date. Other than that, we have the Manage Licenses button right here, and this allows us to give user the commercial license, which they will need to create or generate documents. Now we click on that. So in here I can see all my licenses are assigned and the user they are assigned to, but I can remove or add licenses from my users. Once my user have a license, the next thing will be permission set. So I will jump into my user by clicking on the user itself and scroll down to the permission set assignment. Docomotion have three types of permission sets. So admin, designer, and generator. You don't need to give all three to the same user. I just do it because visually it's easier to show in this kind of demonstrations. The admin already contain everything. So with an admin, you can control the system settings, create templates, and generate documents. The designer is to create templates and generate documents. And the most limiting one is the generator, where you can only generate documents and only documents that are in published state. So once we create our template, we will see each template have an active and a published state. So the generator can only generate those published templates. Once we are done with the license and permission set, we can jump into the Docomotion app. So the first thing we will do after installing the application is go into the Docomotion System Settings tab. And this environment was already set up, but the first time you will go into the system settings, it will ask you to select a region. And this is very important. So we have either EMEA for European customers or US for United States. And this will be the processing servers. So we are never storing information, but those servers do process data. And due to regulations, we have customers who need to keep the data in Europe or in the United States. So this will allow you to select those servers. Of course, our servers are ISO certified, and we can provide all the data regarding data security and so on. We also have it in our website. Once we selected the server, we will get to this screen, so the system settings itself, and I will go over the important things in here. Of course, there are many settings in here based on the features. Let's start with the Download Designer button, and this will download the latest Designer client. So our Designer client is locally installed at the moment. It's based on Microsoft Word, and you can see it's an MSI file that you can install locally. We will see it in a moment when we create our template. The next one will be Authorize. Authorize basically register the organization with our database. It provides a token for features such as live editor that we will see, the interactive capabilities, asynchronous generation, and so on. Scrolling down, we have the link expiration period. So when we create an HTML link, by default, it will be set up for 1 week. We can change the global settings from here. We can also set it per template in the template page that we will see in a moment. Let's move on. We have the Sun PDF settings. This is also relevant for the link channel. So we saw the PDF return to the opportunity in my case, and this is because my signed PDF setting is set to the parent file related list. You can have it stored under the signature itself, or the parent that will be the record you generated the document from. Let's go down to the Docomotion Logger. Docomotion Logger is great if you want to track generation from your environment. So once you have it set up, you can add the Docomotion Histories tab, and essentially it will give you something like this, where you can see each generation, who generated, date and time, channel and format. This is a Salesforce object. You can create reports on that, or create automation based on that. So very powerful a tool that you can use. And after we finish with the system settings, let's move to the Forms tab. So forms are the way we call templates. In here, I will see all the templates I have in the environment. And let's talk a little bit about that. So each template receives a running number. The number is unique. A unique name. So you won't have 2 templates with the same name. Main object, this will be the object I'm going to click on the Docomotion generation screen from and generate my document. And a data model. So a data model is another Docomotion object, and it's essentially our query with all the data we want to pull from Salesforce. Let's go ahead and create a new template. I will click new. And in here, I can give my template a name. So I'll give it something unique. Then I can select the main object. So let's select account for this one. In this pick list, it will just pull all the objects in the environment. It can be standard or custom objects. And let's go ahead and create a new data model as well. You can see I have the option to use an existing data model. So if I already have a data model containing all the fields I will need, I can reuse it. But for this demonstration, we will create a new one. I will go ahead and click on Save and Define Data Model, and this will take us to the data model creation page. So this is the data model. We can see right now we are on the account object, and we have the fields, lookups, and related list right here. So opening the fields will show me fields coming from the account. Lookups will be account lookups and related list as well. Let's go ahead and add some fields to our data model. I can use the search at the top to filter the lists. And let's add the account name, for example. Let's add the lookup like owner. And then we can see I'm right now in the owner of the account. Let's add full name, for example, and maybe title. Let's go back to account. I can do that with the navigation pad. I will just click on account, and it will take me back. And let's add the decision maker. This is another lookup to a contact. And in here, I will add the first name. Going back to account, let's add the related list as well. So I'll go with the contact related list. And in here, let's just add the full name, title, and email. We can go up to 5 levels, whether it's lookups or related lists, so you can get to pretty much any information you have in Salesforce. If you still need something farther away or to create report, we have this button right here called unrelated object. And essentially this lets us select any object in the environment again. We can give this related list a different label name. So if you want to bring the same related list more than once, for example, this is also possible with different filters. But the unrelated is really useful for reports, for gathering information that's not directly related to our data model. Before I save this data model, let's talk a little bit about the query filter. So this is very simple. The query filter will show me my related list. So in this case, I only have the contact related list. And it will allow me to create filters based on logic, sorting, and even limit the amount of records I bring. So this is very useful for all sorts of business use cases, business scenarios, if you need to filter the data, if you don't want to bring all the records, you can do this all in here. It is also possible to do all sorts of filters in the designer as well, and I will show you that too, but this is great if you want to filter it from the data gathering level. Let's save the data model, and this will take us to our form settings page. And this is our form. We can see the form name. We can see it received a unique number. And we can see the main object is account. If I click on define data model, this will take me to the data model page if I want to add or remove fields from my data model. And I have the open designer button that will open our local designer client. While it's opening, let's talk a little bit about the screen. So we have a lot of information in here, but it gives us a lot of power as well. So for example, the default generation settings allow us to control every aspect of the generation screen itself, whether it's the default format, default channel, file name, the recipient, just like we did in the demonstration where it picked the decision maker automatically. We can prevent users from changing the defaults or even hide the old section. We have the capability to change link expiration period if we want to change it above the settings in the system settings. So as I said, we can do it per template. We can create an activity for each generation, Salesforce activity, and we can filter the forms from the generation screen, as I mentioned, based on information from our record. Let's move to the designer client. So I have it open in the other screen. And this is our designer. Based on Microsoft Word, you can see the main screen is just Word, and we have the DocuMotion panels to the left. So we have the form panel. Those will be fields that are tagged in our template. Right now we don't have any, so it's empty. And at the bottom, we have our data model fields. So in here, it will show me all the fields we added to the data model. We can see there are different branches for the lookups. So we know this is a lookup. And related list have this blue T next to it. And this telling me it's a dynamic table or one-to-many relation. Let's go ahead and create our template. So I'll go into a Word document and cheat a little bit. I will just copy and paste it into the designer client. And essentially, I'm done. I just need to tag my fields. Do take in mind, copy and paste won't always be as smooth as I just show it. Sometimes you might have different margin between the document you're copying and what you have set up in the designer, and you will need to do those adjustments. So let's say I will go to my layout in here, and let's change the margins. I will do something smaller. And now we can see all the tables move aside, so I need to adjust those. And I can do that pretty easily by clicking on the table, going into the table layout, and use the Word built-in AutoFit. So I can say AutoFit window, then fixed column width, and my table is right in position. Let's do the same for the other two tables in here. So AutoFit window and fixed column width. And we adjusted to the new layout. Tagging fields is just a matter of double-clicking on the field in the data model section. So for example, if I want to change the account name static text into a dynamic field, I will double-click on the account name, and we can see it's tagged in our template. We can see the gray background behind it, and the fact that we have it in the top left corner in here. Each field has properties. So going into the form section, I can right-click on a field and go into properties. And there are several things in here. First of all, the tag type. So by default, the tag type will be text, but you can change it. In this case, for barcode, for example, we do have a lot of use cases where customers using shipping barcodes, QR codes, and so on. So you can take the information from Salesforce and convert it into the right barcode. Moving back to text, I will talk a little bit about masking. So masking is a really useful tool to change the data coming from Salesforce. For example, if I have numbers coming in, so a number field, and I want to change the decimal point, the different separators, add 1,000 separators, for example, I will do it with the masking. Same for date, if I want to change the different date format, separators and so on, same for the date and time. This is where masking will shine. In this case, account name is a text field, so we'll select none. Let's tag the rest of our fields. So we have our decision maker first name, the owner, and we can see every time I tag a field, it's added in the top left section. And for the contact related list, I have a small table. So this is just a Word table that you can insert from here, and I will tag the fields inside of it. The system will automatically pull the information from the related list in a tabular manner. I will go ahead and tag the full name. Title. Sorry, and email. And so we have everything tagged. Right now we can go ahead and generate this document. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about logic options. So there are several logic options in the designer. The first one will be logic on our related list. So I did mention it is possible to also do it inside the designer rather than in the data model. So we have the contact related list in the form section, and just like everything else, it's also have properties. Clicking on those will open the Docomotion logic editor, and in here I can create new logic. So by default, it will bring all the related lists into my table. But let's say I don't want to show everything in this specific table. Let's say I want to show only contacts who have CEO in their title. So I will change the default and put an id row by double clicking on it. Double click on the if statement. And in here, you can save my expressions. I will click in the middle here, and then I can select for the first expression title, and I will select the contact's title. Equal, and in the other side, I will select constant, and let's say CEO. If I want to make it more complex, I can right click and add conditions. So really depend on the use case. In this case, we just want the title equals CEO. Now we want to add a show row, so it won't just keep it hidden. And in this case, it will show rows that have CEO in their title. Of course, you have the else if and else if you want to make it more complex in here as well. And I will go ahead and click on save to save this logic. I do have the option to export it. So if I have multiple tables that require the same filters and I just need to change, for example, the title, I will export it and then I can import it into other tables. Let's click OK. So this is logic you can set up on related lists. Let's say we want to set up logic on pages, paragraphs, or complete sections in the document. I can just cover whatever I want with my mouse and double click on container. So a container is just that. It allows us to create business logic on any section we want. You can see it's very similar to the table logic. Clicking on new, we have everything just like with the table, but instead of rows, it's container. So we'll say id container, and then if I had the billing country, for example, I could say if it's London, then show this section or id. So you can create those kind of rules with containers, and they're very powerful for that. You can also nest containers within containers. So this really give you as much flexibility as possible to create any scenario you want in the template. Containers also have the function called lock container, and this is great for our live editor capabilities. And I will show it in a moment. So I will keep it without logic and just keep the lock container in here. And the last calculation, I will say, or logic option we have is the script tag. So script tag is very powerful. It lets us do a lot of things. So first of all, in the tag type, you can see I have the option to choose multimedia or pictures as well. So if I want to bring images from Salesforce, for example, from external URLs or the video we saw before, I can select it from here. We do have another option to insert it, and we'll see it in a moment. It have masking if you're going to bring numbers, dates, and so on. If we want to have an hyperlink, so a link in the document coming from Salesforce. You can check the hyperlink in here. And as for what data it will show, clicking on new, we can set a value, and this can be either field coming from our data model that you can see in here, or it can be a calculation. So I can right click, add an expression just like before, and then I can select another different field for my data model and do mathematical calculations, for example. All sorts of functions I can use in here, whether it's substrings, sum. So if I can put a script in the end of a table and do table column sum, and it will give me the sum of the table instead of doing those calculations inside of Salesforce. So these are some of the things we can do with scripts. We can also set symbols instead of values, and we have all sorts of symbols in here. So let's say you're bringing a checkbox from Salesforce and you want to present it as a symbol, you will use a script for that. And the last part will be the visuals. So I can control the font colors or even the font itself based on logic. So let's say when you're doing a blood test, for example, and you have red parts and green parts, you can do that with the script tag. Okay, before we save this template to Salesforce, I do want to talk a little bit about the preview capabilities. So by default, you can click on the preview button in here, and this will preview the document as PDF. I can change the type of preview I want in the Form tab and then View section, and we have all the options in here. So those are the same options from our generation screen. And we also have the option to add an actual test record. So right now, this is a new template. You need the template to be at least active once, and then you can set a record and bring the record ID from Salesforce, set it up in here, and then the preview will bring actual live data from Salesforce. So this is very useful. I will click on the small cloud in here. This will push our version back to Salesforce. And if I go back to the environment, we will see a new button now on our form, the activate button. So you can see currently we are in status edit. Let's activate our template. So now it's active. Once a template is active, it will be available in the generation screen to people with the admin and designer permission sets, and generators won't be able to see it. So this will allow me to do all sorts of tests on the template, and once I want it available for everyone with the generator permission set, I will just publish it, and it will be available. Let's go into an account so we can generate this template. And in here I have the Lightning Generate Document button. I will click on it, and we can see our template. Let's generate it as PDF and download. Instead of clicking generate, I will click on the live editor button. So live editor allow us to generate to an HTML editor that we can see right now. And this allows us to do last minute changes. So let's say your user will need to create a document, but they want to verify everything is fine and do changes if needed. This allows us to do this. We get those kind of questions from pretty much any customer at some point. So take in mind, we do have this capability to do those last minute changes. So let's say I want to change the name in here. So Dear Tomer instead of Dear David. I can add images in the live editor, put page breaks if I want to change the document itself, add tables, font and font color, and so on. And if you remember, we added the container with the lock section. So you can see this section is locked. I can't edit it and I can delete it. It will tell me this is a lock container and we'll put it back in. And if I scroll down, we can see the information that came from Salesforce, and we can see the logic we put before. So we can see two contacts with CEO in the title. So this is the table logic we placed before. Once I click on generate, it will create the PDF per my selection before with the change I did to the decision maker name. So you can see Dear Tomer and all the information below. So this is an example of a basic document and document creation. Let's add some interactive capabilities to it to make it more complex. Going back to the Home tab, let's jump back to our template. First of all, I will click on Define Data Model. So we will add some fields in here. As I mentioned, there are two types of interactive fields. So there is the type coming from the data model, and this will directly update my record. Going into the interactive tab in here, it will allow me to put fields from my main object for the fields section and lookups. Related list will be locked, so you can't update related list. But let's add some fields from the main object. So let's say phone and email. I will just move them to the other side, and we can see them under the interactive section. Those will update my account on an email. You can see there are lock fields even inside the main object, and those will be formula fields or Salesforce fields that are read-only. Let's go ahead and save this data model. And let's add some locomotion interactive fields as well. So you can do that by creating an interactive collection. So I'll jump into the interactive collection tab. And this works just like a data model, but for interactive fields. So you can have many templates use the same interactive collection. Let's create a new one. I will give it a name. And in here, we can select the type of interactive fields we want. So you can see like the signature option is coming from here. We can have radio selection, something you don't have in Salesforce, but you can create in the template. This is great for surveys, for example. So it will allow you to select one option out of several. Now, let's create our interactive collection. I will start with text. And let's do free text. Let's add a signature. And let's do a radio for this example. So with the radio, I can select the choices I want in here. Do okay, okay, and there. I will save it up. And now we need to link this interactive collection to our template. So I will jump back to forms, go into our form, scroll down to the related list section, and I can see I have interactive related forms. In here, I will click new. And this allows me to select my interactive collection. Let's click save. I will close the designer client because we wanted to pull all the latest changes we just did, and click open designer again. So now our designer client will open with the new data model and the interactive collection we just added. let's move it to this screen. Okay, so we have the same template as before. And let me just add a page break here so we can start the interactive section in a new page. Now we have in the data model section a new tab called interactive collection. And if I will click on it, we can open the tree and we can see it split into two. So onboarding session 1, this is our interactive collection with the fields we added in this interactive collection. Take in mind that you can also have more than one interactive collection per template. Yeah, so really depend on the use case. And we have the update account. Account is currently our main object, and that's why it's update account. This will show me fields from the data model. Once we add interactive fields to a template, automatically it will add the submit button. And let's start by adding some fields. So I will add some labels, and let's add the free text field. You can see once I tag the interactive fields, they look different than the normal fields. So we know this is an input field. And I can adjust the size by either dragging it or going into the picture format and changing it to the size I want. So let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's add the phone number. And I will put it on the same size. Email. Oh, missed clicking enter. And for the radio selection, I will create a small table just so it will look a little bit better. So we had 3 choices, and I will just hide the options in here. Make it a little bit smaller and tag the options. And we can make the table borderless so users won't actually see we have a table in here. Let's go ahead and add our signature as well. For the signature, you can change the size as well, or make it pop up in the settings that we will see in a moment. So really depends on how it needs to look in the final document. We'll make it a little bit bigger. And the last thing will be our submit button, which is important. Okay, so we have all the interactive fields tagged in. Just like with the normal fields, each one of them have properties as well. So right-clicking in the form section, we can go into the properties, and there are several things in here. For text, for example, we can make it multi-line, which is great if we want our users to be able to type in and go into new rows, or change the way it looks like in the document. We can make it mandatory to fill, and then the user won't be able to click submit unless it's filled. We can have predefined texts, so you can tell him what to do with this field, or bring the information it currently have in Salesforce. It's also possible to change the different colors and font and format of the input. Other than that, if I jump into the behavior tab, in here we can have JavaScript. So if you need to do some custom validations, you can do this with the behavior tab. I will go ahead and save it with the mandatory to fill and multi-line for the free text. Let's jump into the phone, and I will do it mandatory to fill as well. In the email, let's do applicative, just so we will see how that looks like. And in here, I want, of course, to bring the custom email address. And let's jump into the signature. I will make it pop up and mandatory to fill. You can see you have the option to add a background image. We saw that in the demonstration at the beginning. So you can sign on the company logo, for example, or something custom like that. It's the same for the submit. So the submit button also have properties. By default, it will just say the text submit. But if you want to have an icon or change the colors or style, it will be possible from here as well. Let's save this back to Salesforce. So we click on the cloud at the top and push this version. And going into our template, we can see now, since I pushed another version, I have the option to discard changes, and this will delete the version we just created. I can activate it, and then it will be available for admins and designers. And once it's active, it will allow me to either discard changes or publish it. So let's keep it active. We can see now in the publishing information, we have an active and a published version. So as an admin, if I will now go into a record and try to generate, I will be able to see both versions. Let me just go into this record. I will click on the Lightning Generate Document button. And we can see we have the template twice, once as active and once as published. The active version, of course, have our interactive capabilities. So I will generate it as HTML and link. Once I click generate, it will create the signature record for me. Just like before, we can see now we have a lookup to an account, and we have this URL that will generate the document. So here is our document, just like before, but we have the interactive capabilities below. So if I will try and click submit now, it will tell me I have mandatory fields. Of course, this message is also customizable if you go to the properties of the submit button. And if I click OK, it will show me the mandatory fields I must fill. So for the free text, you can see now it doesn't look great, but I can change the size because we did select it to be multi-line. Phone number, let's just put this number. And then the email, so this is the email we currently have in the account, and I can change it. Let me put a full email. Then we have the radio selection, where I can select one option. So as I said, this is great for all sorts of document you can send to end customers. And the signature pad, we did set it as pop-up, so clicking on it will open up. I can sign, save, and then submit. Just like before, I get a copy of the PDF. And if we jump to our signature record, I will click refresh. And we can see it's signed with all the information. If I go to the feedback received right here, I will have the information that came from the interactive collection, just like before. And going to the account, we can see the account phone number and email will change based on the information we inputted. So this is great to streamline data entry to Salesforce, and if you need to collect data from end users. Of course, if I go to the file related list, I will also have a copy of the PDF in it. So this show you how to create a more complex template and really useful for those scenarios. And the last part will be, actually, before we move to automation, I will just show you another nice capability. So I will jump into the Forms tab. And let's say I want to create a new template, but I have a PDF file, for example. So I can click on New, and let's name, select the same main object as before, just so we won't need to recreate the data model. So I can choose an existing data model. And this is a real life scenario where you already have all the fields that you need, but you don't want to recreate the data model. And the last part will be clicking on the Use PDF Layer settings. So PDF Layer is a somewhat new feature we added. It essentially let us take a PDF you got, whether it's a government document, an insurance company document, and just put it in our designer client as an image, and we can put fields on top of that. So this is really useful for those use cases. So let me just close my designer client. I will click on Open Designer again. Opening in the other screen again. Okay, so we have an empty designer client because this is a new template. Since we selected the PDF layer in the form creation, I can go into the PDF layer tab in here, click Insert PDF. This will allow me to select a document from my computer. Let's go for the national insurance, for example. So this is a real life scenario we received where insurance companies have a PDF they can't edit or recreate. I select the PDF. The system allow me to fit it based on the PDF itself or the design I have set up in the designer client. Let's keep it fit to PDF. I will click OK, and the system will take that PDF, convert it into images, and place them inside the designer based on the pages. And now I can tag fields on top of that. So if I open the data model section, I can right click on a field and do insert as shape. And this will add the field inside the shape that I can drag to the location I want. So this is very useful for these scenarios where you need to place some fields on top of already created PDF, and you are ready to go and generate it to the end user. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about automations. So automation is really powerful, especially if you don't want the users to go and select a template each time they generate. If you want the generation to happen behind the scenes, you can use all the docomotion capabilities in automation. And so whether it's Apex, if you want to write code, or using Salesforce flow capabilities. So jumping into flows, I can create a new flow. In here, I can select any type I want. For this one, let's do it complete automated. I will choose record trigger flow. Let's select account since this is our main object. And let's do if it's created or updated. And then I can just add the docomotion action. Of course, you can make a more complex automation. You can do get records for the form record if you want to bring different templates per scenario. So take in mind that everything in docomotion is built inside Salesforce with Salesforce objects. So you can utilize all our objects in the flow, but we just need the action for this demonstration. And if I type in Docker in the search, it will show me all the DocuMotion actions. So we have generate document if we want to generate it directly into our Salesforce environment. Mail with attachment if we want to send it as an email, so using Salesforce email, and the DocuMotion will be the attachment, the DocuMotion document. Mail body will take the DocuMotion template and generate it as the actual email. Generate link for those interactive capabilities, or mass generation if we want to generate multiple records with one batch action. And let's go with the generate document for this one. And I will just give it a label. Then we have the different channels, just like in the generation screen. Let's say I want to generate to the file related list. Form ID is our form number. You can get it from here. And I'll just paste it. The format, let's say I want this one as docx instead of PDF. Generate on will be our record ID, of course. So, triggering record and account ID in this case. And I have the option to generate either the active or published version of the template. So in here, I want to do false. I want to generate the published version and not the active version. I do also have the option to change the default file name if I want to. And let's save our flow. And activate it. Now let's go to our account. I will do some change in here. And this will trigger our flow that will generate our docx file. So going into the file related list, we now have a new file. So the preview already loaded, but yeah, we have our docx with all the information. So this is the published version without the interactive sections. So this is how you can also utilize automations, save some time, and so on. So this is DocuMotion. Of course, we have a lot of other features, but those are the general everyday features you will usually get from customers. If you do have any question, feel free to ask, and we can show it right away.
Right. Thank you very much, Tomer, for enlightening us. Anyone who has a question, you can either use the Q&A or just raise a hand, or if you're shy, you can send us an email later on and we'll answer on it. I'd like to say thank you, first of all, to everybody who took the time to join our session today. And especially for Tomer, who's guiding us for the last hour or so. Thank you all for your times. These tips will definitely help our partners create more impactful documents. I'd only say, as a reminder, what we said in the beginning, please keep in mind that the entire agenda, which is presented, this experience is to make sure that you guys can become DocuMotion champions. So please remember that you'll get a link following the session with the online training. Please remember that you can skip the videos. You might go back to them whenever you need. For example, if you want to review how to set up PDF layer, multi-signers, etc. But the idea is that you can just jump straight into the certificate itself. Please keep in mind within that email with the certification exam, there's also an invitation to join our LinkedIn community. So please join in 2 seconds of your time. It's really beneficial. You'll see in there just posts. It's only for our partners. You'll see posts that are related to our product, company related topics, and everyone is more than welcome to share any thoughts and constructive criticism there. Thank you all for your active participation today. We're excited to have you join our community of DocuMotion champions. Please remember, there's also a draw. So once you complete their certificate, just submit it, and hopefully you'll win a very cool prize. If you need any support or questions following the session, we're always available to help. And that's it. Have a great rest of your day or evening. Thanks for your time.